You stupid old man. You don't get to rush this.
Hello and welcome to The Last of Us Spoilercast, where we talk about all things spoiler related on The Last of Us HBO. And, well, this week, normally I start this off, I'll introduce all the guests and kind of talk and give a spoiler warning. But before we do that, I just want to ask a question to everyone who's obviously joining me, but I think also to anyone who's watching as well. Just, how are you doing? Are you okay after that? Are you okay?
Doing great, thank you. Yeah, that's doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it. I woke up this morning and someone had tweeted me going, "Oh, I wasn't sure about the TV show, but you were right." And I was like, "Yes, vindication!" And then I was like, "Oh my god, the next episode is out! I need to go downstairs and see what they're talking about." I was just very thankful it wasn't like a spoiler. So ran downstairs and watched it like first thing in the morning, and then I literally had to go up to I live with my parents. I had to be like, "Mom, don't come in, don't talk to me, don't look at me for the next hour. I'm watching my stories." And like just needed some like alone time with the TV because it's intense, wasn't it? It was a good episode of TV, but a bad episode for the old heart, for the old chest.
Yes. Well, I'll give a spoiler warning in a minute. This is just general vibes at the moment.
Okay, so what me and Phil do now is we wake up, whenever we wake up, we leave our phones where the hell they are, and Phil goes and makes breakfast while I set the telly up. Then we watch it together.
Yeah.
And my thing at the end of it was, well, that was certainly an hour of television. So set button, doing okay. I've had all day to yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm hi, my name is I'm fine. I'm doing great. Howard still do. I'm at a loss for words. I'm doing yeah, it's good. It's good. Good television. My God. Like so many times I'll say this. I watched with someone who played the game with me back in 2020, and once they got to that resort, we both just went slow turn and stare at each other like it's coming. And there were people there who had not didn't know at all what was going to happen.
Oh my god! Wait, you watched it like in a watch party with a number
with
of
some
people, a number of people is what I meant to say. That.
Yeah, some people who had never seen it before. I encouraged a friend
God.
who then binged the whole first season in the last week,
Yeah,
just to get up to this episode.
Is your friend
And
okay?
yeah, you know, like, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So at this point, I will give a spoiler warning. Hopefully, the fact that this is titled a spoiler cast should give it away. But for anyone who's watching this who has not yet seen season 2, episode 2 of The Last of Us on HBO, you should watch that before you watch this, because we will be talking in quite a lot of depth about spoilers. I imagine we will have a lot to say about it. If you've not played the game, we will also be talking about the game to the degree that we'll be talking about things that have happened in the show that have also happened in the game. If we won't be talking about anything that's happened and covered yet until later on in the episode, we will give a separate spoiler warning for that. Last week we did kind of like accidentally veer into that territory, like unexpected, so I had to slap a hastily warning on screen, but we will try and warn people before that comes. So if you've watched the show but not played the game, then the only things from the game that you should be expecting to see at the moment will be talking about things that the game did and the show did, and they may have appeared at different orders, that sort of thing, but we're not going to spoil the entire game. So with all that out of the way, and hopefully it's safe to watch for everyone who's now watching. If you've not gone away and watched the episode, why? Go, do it. Go on. And yeah, I think there's so much to talk about, and it's hard to know where to begin with this. So I think, as usual, if we start with kind of people's general impressions of the episode overall, kind of your review of it, if you like, and what your take on it. So I think if we start from there, and who wants to go first?
I loved it. I have issues with some of it, and we'll discuss that later. But as an episode, as part of the oeuvre that is The Last of Us, I loved it. Everybody was true to their characters. Caitlin Dever can do absolutely no wrong at all. Like, she could come in here and punch me in the face, and I say, yes, thank you. Can I have another? She's I've watched so much stuff with her in lately because Netflix have been going, oh, she's in a thing, let's push all her stuff. Oh, by the way, I love doing this because it looks like I'm on the flash and phasing, but that apart, loved it, absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's just I also thought it was I thought it was a really great I thought it was super faithful to the game's story whilst also being surprising. Like a couple of choices that were made about mixing up characters and like who goes with who later on in the episode. So like what you'd expect to be Tommy and Joel and Dina and Ellie is then basically mixed up and swapped over. And I think that matches up with what the TV show is trying to do and gives you a little bit of unexpected without feeling like it's changing too much from the main story. And then obviously the main change is the Jackson portion. Where things happen in Jackson that very much did not happen in the game, and the tension rackets up here. But I really loved it as a fan of the game who obviously we all know the main points of what's going to happen, but we don't know the new ones. Putting peril directly in Jackson in that way was a really effective, and I thought it was just all round. I thought it was a very brilliant episode and a very faithful episode. And I'm very interested to see what Dee doesn't like, because I feel like we're going to argue.
Yeah, me too.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I'm on board with, I think, how everybody else feels. I thought it was just like a fantastic episode in line with the world of The Last of Us, but then just as an episode of television in general, I mean, it was exactly what I wanted from this episode. Game of Thrones level, Battle of the Bastards kind of just epicness. And I was blown away. Like, how did they even pull this off? And I was telling Phil before we started, I want to watch a 30-minute to an hour documentary, literally just on how they pull this off from a filmmaking standpoint, and the computer graphics that go into it, and just all of that is just masterfully done. I think too, they learned their lesson from the experience of creating the game the first go around. Not to say that I dislike what the game did, but I understand people like certain ways that the things were paced and frustrations that created in certain ways. I think that they, through these first two episodes, I think I found a really nice balance from a storytelling standpoint to make this really purposefully anticlimactic moment work satisfactorily, because it's really anticlimactic, and that's the world that these characters live in, and that's just what happens, and it's hard to pull something like that off. But I think they did it really well here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think this is another episode where so far the changes, there's a couple of changes in terms of like details that have been changed, and then there's also things that have been omitted that we should have really seen by now. And I'm not kind of outraged at any of it. Like, there's some of it where I think if it's gone completely, then they've lost something. But given what they've been doing so far, I don't necessarily think that's the case. There's like room for some of these things to come in later. So I'm kind of intrigued where they go. I think the only thing that I had a kind of, not even a negative reaction to, but I think I preferred the game way of doing it in relation to the scene with Joel and Abby, was specifically kind of the amount of exposition or lack thereof. I think that was the only, and I understand why, I like, from a TV show and what they're setting up, and that it's got to be presented differently. But I also kind of think I still prefer the way it was done. Like, there's other details in that scene that are completely different, which we'll talk about. But specifically in terms of how much they do or don't talk, I think, and like when Abby confronts Joel, I do still kind of think I enjoyed it, and it hit me hard. And like the end of that whole scene was like heart wrenching for a whole different reason. But just the amount of like exposition there just kind of threw me a little bit.
It was Exposition Monday. Yeah, this is
Yeah, it
one of the
was.
things I have that did
Mhm.
not please me. There was so much that didn't need to be there, and that had they not put it in, would have ramped up the peril and the tension and the claustrophobic feeling of being trapped at the end of an alley where, like, just climb the crates, Tommy. This is what we do in the game, climb the crates. But yeah, there was too much, I think, that was spoon-fed to the audience.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
that with like the Jackson stuff, or with the Abby stuff, or kind of with everything?
With the Jackson stuff for sure, the
Mm.
opening where he's doing the meeting, and this is what we do when we ring the bell. Oh, for goodness sake. We're all old enough and we've all seen enough stuff to know if the bell rings, this is a bad thing. Run. And that all they had to say was, like he did say, to the basements, to the roof, to the window, to the wall, right? It's like that's all that had to be done to still create that panic. We didn't need to see a whole thing where he's telling people, oh, and you haven't done the thing, have you? And when he's with Mr. Bloaty Man, right, who was so cute, I kind of liked him. Not in the way that some fans like him, because I've
Mm.
seen things that made me want to pull out my own eyeballs.
Dee, please,
But
we're 12 minutes in.
I know, I
yeah,
know.
show us.
Hey,
I mean,
we've
we're
not
12
met
minutes in.
before.
Come on.
Right, there's so the whole thing with showing the pressure on the tanks.
Mm.
I was like, what's that all about? Don't need that.
I
Literally,
disagree. I disagree. How was
honestly,
I was like,
because
is it running
he was
out? I don't
doing
know.
it. He was doing it for so long. I'm thinking, surely he must be running out by now. And then they show me, oh, he's running out by now. All they needed to do was have him go, oh, that's it. Stop spoon feeding. And Abby, I agreed with Joel. For fuck's sake, just get on with it. Just stop your blathering. That could have happened. It was like, so as I was telling my friend Barb, what happened was, and it's just too much lazy exposition. Write it into the dialogue.
I can see Ash absolutely like chomping at the bit to come back to this.
No.
I'm going to disagree on this, but then I'm very, very much as a writer, and I know you're a writer as well, but we are obviously very different kinds of writers, right? As a writer, I'm like, that's far too much exposition. Tell the story through the dialogue. Tell the story through the body movements, through the acting, through the facial expressions. Don't spoon feed those who haven't played the game.
I think that I think genuinely, and not to sound like I'm like I'm being a dickhead. I think they do need it though. Is the thing like I because we have so much background with the game, and we know all these tense points. We know what everything means intrinsically, and as gamers as well. You speak a different language with tension and with gameplay and all that kind of thing. You know, you see a bunch of crates, you think I can climb that if I press X, or I can, or like you know the flamethrower is going to run out after this point, because you get used to using all of these things and experience them in a certain way. So when it gets transposed to TV, and there is a rule in TV which is very much you have to show everything happening. Like if someone comes through a door, you have to make sure you film them going out through the door. You can't just like transport them somewhere. So and I feel like knowing exactly what's supposed to go on, how this community works, how well prepared they are, how into it Tommy is, how much Maria is involved, and like her on the rooftops, him in the pathways, like knowing that that's the way it's supposed to be. And like you just see like little pieces of all the extra planning that goes in, like they've parked the tractors up against the gates. I was thinking, what the hell they're doing with a digger? And then you realize when they start bashing against it, you're like, oh, okay, I understand. So I feel like they give you all the main points in a nice healthy spoonful, and maybe it is a little bit overloaded, but I thought it was the right, personally, I thought it was the right amount to be able to set the tension, set your expectations, and then begin to toy with them, especially with the flamethrower as well. Like I because I literally asked the question in my head. I was like, when's he gonna run
When's
out
it
of
gonna run out?
flamethrowers? Yeah, and I was like, I want the telly to tell me. You know what
See,
I
I
mean?
don't think they didn't do it in season 1.
Yeah.
This is my point. They didn't do it in season 1. They treated not just the game players, but the first time watchers, people who had no idea. They treated them like adults and intelligent adults at that, who knew how to read a story and how to see things and how to get nuance. This time, I
See,
think in this episode, the nuance flew out the window.
I will say, like, I mean, my complaints, like, back to that, is specifically around Abby's kind of big speech to Joel. And it's not even all of it. It's like, I think it's just like, it just was a bit too much. I mean, maybe that was just for the effect of like having sort of Pedro saying, shut the fuck up and get on with it, would have the more impact. I don't know, because obviously kind of in the game, he's like, you know, say whatever speech you got rehearsed and get on with it. And then obviously this time she did have a speech rehearsed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was parts I liked about that, like and then there's parts I'm a bit mixed on, like where she kind of reels off his physical description, which calls back to the previous episode. There was part of me that was kind of like, okay, she's showing like this is the right guy or whatever, like thing, like, and it calls back to them knowing all this stuff about him. Although it still seems weird that they had that detail in, like, oh, you are Abby calling him handsome. I don't know what that was about. Like,
If you hadn't killed me, Dad, I'd totally do you.
like I know it's
I
Pedro
said that
Pascal, but
too.
still.
I do think that was a Pedro Pascal meta moment, to be fair. And it is a little bit stilted and a bit awkward to come from Abby specifically, who
Yeah.
purely hates this man. But then I think it's just, I think that's kind of a very small nod and testament to show that she is not blinded by hatred. She's fueled by it. She can see reality
Yeah.
still. He's a hot man. Like
Yeah,
she can see, she knows the good parts of him. She can see him for who he is on the surface. She knows about Ellie and all that stuff. She's, it shows that she's very methodical and like reasonable as well. And as much as it's a throwaway line, that is the nuance that you crave, Dee. That's the nuance you crave.
The nuance I craved
see-
when he went, and that's Joel, and everyone went, uh-oh.
See, I did like what I did like about the speech, though. Like, I will say, like, although that part threw me off, the part where she's describing what he did and like going through it, and how many people did you kill? And there was one doctor, and obviously, from her point of view, completely glosses over what that doctor was doing.
Yeah.
Why Joel might have gone in there in the first place, because obviously that I did like that detail, because
I liked that bit.
although it's always a thing whenever like villains give this in the monologue and they put all their justifications on the screen, there's this terrible habit, like the good guys never answer them and like point out the flaws in what they're saying. So I'm behind the screen going, no, well actually but yeah, obviously it wouldn't have been good TV to have Joel kind of start a semantic argument about why he was doing all that. But yeah, I think
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just to kind of like wrap that up, and then I was going to say there were parts I liked like that, but it was specifically to do with the Abby speech where I kind of felt too much exposition. The Jackson stuff felt like world building to me, like I seeing like, oh yeah, this community's like prepared, they've nailed everything down. And seeing all that, which we don't get to see in the games, was really cool. From that,
yeah, on the little the bit of Jackson too, just to like add on to that, the reason I do like that scene where they're prepping, to me that scene functions far more as seeing Tommy's role in the community, which I don't think we fully got to see in terms of like him in front of everybody. He was on the council, but here's a role that he's playing, guiding these people, and the way that he interacts with this kid too is like so charming and reminded me of the way Joel interacts with his own kid. Which, where was their kid? That's something I wrote down. Like, do we see Maria and
because you were team
Tommy's
kill the boy.
kid? Like,
You were team kill the boy.
yeah, I was pro child death.
Yeah.
A couple weeks
No,
ago.
he went into the basement, didn't he?
Yeah, I think
Did we see him? Like,
we
I'm
didn't see him
surprised that
die, so he must still be
I thought
alive.
we did.
yeah, he must still be alive. But it was just interesting that there wasn't a moment where Tommy and Maria are like, "You stay here, okay?"
Mm.
But it's it's expensive to have kids on set, so maybe they're supposed to be that day. Um, but
Well, I
I
mean, I
wanted
guess
to
like
add,
Lives.
if you've just you've just like fought a bloater like and you're absolutely exhausted, the last thing you need is a kid running around being all excitable and stuff. It's like just go away. I'm knackered.
I did love the barrels thing though.
love that.
I love that. I said to Phil, "Oh, how are you enjoying the advert for The Last of Us 3?" Because it looked
Yeah,
like game mechanics.
Yeah.
I loved
yeah,
it.
true.
Everybody
And we
loves
had
exploding barrels, though. You know what I mean? It's gaming
yeah, and
101. We know we're going to get red exploding barrels, you know?
Yeah,
and like last week we talked about how things that people were doing, game mechanics, were just things used to survive, like having a brick, like throwing a bottle so the clickers and the stalkers went elsewhere. So
Mm.
this felt like the same sort of thing. Like it was brilliant, but also
Mhm.
it felt like, right, press X to let barrels go. Press like, do you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was great.
For
I
the
loved
briefest moment, when they put the barrels out there and then they started aiming their guns at them, and I was like, "Are they gonna blow up
no,
from a bullet?" Just for the
no.
briefest moment,
Yeah.
I was like, is that about to happen? Of course
Yeah.
not. Of course not.
I fully
They
believed
weren't
it
the
would
right
happen.
colour.
I don't know about the physics part of it. I was like, "Oh my god, they're gonna shoot, it's gonna explode like the game," and then it started like pissing out oil. I was like, "Oh, okay, sorry, that's not how that works."
Oh, realism.
Yeah. Oh
Oh,
god, get it off.
Yeah, I did like all of that sequence and showing like that they were prepared, like they were taken by surprise by it, but also they were prepared for it.
mm,
It was really good as well because like they kind of, I think one of the parts that intrigued, I don't know whether I'm just kind of picking up on these little details and thinking, oh, that's really cool. But the fact that the infected survived the cold by like effectively sheltering under their own dead
Mm.
before coming out and like that sort of stuff. And then um every bit of that, from like the chase with Abby pushing against the chains where like she's crushed underneath and having to crawl, to like them barreling against the walls and everything else, it just felt like really visceral in a way that I think obviously we get a sequence like that in the game where
mm.
Abby's running away and then you fight the horde, or well, you fight some infected in the gondola area, but there's obviously limitations to like how many enemies you can have on screen for it to be A, like not use too many resources for the machine, and B, be something the player can actually deal with. And because
But
you've
we
got
had that.
to have
We were told about that as well. That was like, I thought it would have had more impact. The infected hiding under their own dead would have had more impact if we hadn't been told, oh, there was some under the snow. How many more could be under the snow? It's
Oh,
like,
I totally disagree because if I'd have just seen a bunch of frozen, like thinking as someone who doesn't know the game, doesn't anything like that. If I seen a bunch of frozen bodies and then suddenly they all became alive underneath, I would have loads of questions about the like where they've come from, how that works. You know, did they know about this previously? I feel like them talking about it and then after having the Stalker episode is very much like they're very much okay, I need to say something that's going to happen later in the game that hasn't happened in the TV show. So I'm just warning everybody listening that I'm going to say some words that hopefully won't make sense, but to you guys it will. But like it feels like they're paving the way for smarter infected, which is going to make for a really good Rat King scene because I'm so excited to see the Rat King, and that's going to be like posited as this thing with so many brains and faces, and it's going to be like, oh my god, it's going to be super smart. There's going to be smarts going on, and I'm just really
mhm.
gassed. Oh my god, I can't wait to see the Rat King if this is what they keep doing. Each episode they get a bit smarter, and I think that's a really interesting thing that didn't happen in the games as
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I
Hmm.
love that they're getting smarter, and I
Yeah.
am so excited about the Rat King.
Yes,
So
yes, I just
excited.
can't wait. But back to the point without yelling,
Hmm.
I think we needed to know that they're aware of the snow stuff. And also it sets us up for that scene where she sees corpses in the snow where we think, oh my God, is she gonna wake up some baddies here? Yes, she is, because we know that they're hiding under the snow. It makes you feel smarter as a watcher, like it gives like you a pseudo sense of being quite smart because you're like, oh, I paid attention. I know there's going to be some infected under there.
I mean, that's a fair point. I
Yeah.
will agree with you there. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of
So
go
we
on the
can
other
agree.
side of the spectrum here, and
Yeah.
I got kind of wish that we had seen that a little bit more. I think it worked fine the way it did, but honestly, on the first watch last night, I just kind of glazed over that little bit of dialogue. Like it was so fast between Jesse and Ellie, talking about the frozen under the ground, and then for that to happen just after the end of the last episode with the tendrils coming out, it felt like, isn't that something that we should have seen? Like maybe episode 1 could have ended with those two people discovering that as the tense moment, or I could have even done with a refresher. I think audiences would have appreciated with a refresher on how the tendril network works, and maybe the tendrils coming out at the end of episode 1, we get this CGI like going through the tunnel and ending up at this underground cavern of infected all piled on top of each other. It felt like there was a gap missing. It felt like the game, in the sense that the game is locked to a perspective, and the game has a lot of discoveries through dialogue. Like we never meet Kat, we never meet other characters in the game because you're just talking about them. But the show has this opportunity to jump around to different perspectives. So it just felt like, to me, a little bit glazed over.
See,
Yeah,
I proper like had my finger up. Like, I understand when they said the line and then they called back to it. So I feel like from that sense of satisfaction of being like, well, I paid attention.
You deciphered it, yeah.
That I think that like I back it happening the way that it did. I get what you're saying about the tendrils, and like I do think they could have spelled it out more. But then I am very much I'm a believer in exposition, but then never repeating it, and then you just like you soak it in. So but between seasons, it is a different story. So the end of it, I do get a little zoom in would have been good, but I think not knowing the level of threat, just knowing that they hide under the snow.
This is what
True.
I like about the tendrils. We've seen them twice now, and it's a threat that we know is there, but nobody else, and only one other person seems to have got their head around. But was that the person who got bitten and shot in the head at the end? I wasn't sure. It's like there's a threat there that we know as the viewers. We can see it, but they're not aware of it yet. So that I love that, because that's building up to an even bigger like us moment going, look, we told you.
Yeah.
And I like that.
See, this is made me think as well. Like I said last time, that like I was like liking some of the changes they made because I could see where they were going with it. And I think the fact that they changed the supermarket infected confrontation that we have, which in the game takes place on the day that of episode 2, because that's what Dina and Ellie do before they go off and discover Eugene's weed farm, and then they find out Joel's missing and all that sort of stuff. Instead, that happens the day before, because it gives us a chance to kind of show that they can handle infected competently. But then it also separates it from this next thing, because it's not just like a routine patrol where they handle a few kind of stray infected. This is a much bigger threat that's coming, and I think having those two things separated like that does allow for it to be like, okay, it's not just business as usual. This is like they're all piling towards Jackson in this way, and realistically, if they were all piling that way, then and they were in the middle of fighting them, they probably would have got swarmed and killed. So you wouldn't have been able to like realistically show that moment without them looking overpowered.
It's also
So
a great opportunity to have Jesse and Ellie isolated too. Get a little bit more Jesse character development too. You got Dina and you got Jesse.
I love
Yeah.
Jesse. I love
approve
Jesse
of
so much.
Jesse.
Yeah.
I very much approve. But the bit with the two horses and the horde chasing, if that isn't already a meme, it needs to be a meme. Like,
There were like
let's go
3
about my
moments where I
day.
was like, this could be a GIF. This could be an emote. I'm making it.
Yeah, it's like me just trying to go about my day. The last for season 2. Yeah.
God.
Oh,
No, I'm glad we're getting more Jesse and more
me
Jesse
too.
gets shit done like vibes. Like I love him so much in the game.
Yeah.
I have so many emotions for like, all of the characters I love so much, but I do feel like Jesse is just like the unsung hero as
Mm.
just like very competent man who everyone's like, shut up, Jesse, even though he knows what he's doing.
There is this
But
whole
yeah.
thing with Ellie, like she did what she wanted to do, but she seems to respect
Mm,
Jesse more than she does others. So she's like, I'm going to fill my backpack with weed. And he's like, no. And she's like, well, you're not quite in charge yet.
yeah.
I'm going to do what I want. But there is there's more of a respect from Ellie to Jesse than there has been to anybody else, I think.
I
Yeah.
love a no nonsense stoner.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 I think they nailed that conversation. Like that's the first conversation that you see in the like as a gameplay. The first conversation you've seen between Jesse and Ellie, which is I think the point at which you're introduced to Jesse and instantly go, okay, I like this guy.
Uh-huh.
Which we saw obviously when they kind of in like you kissed her. Like, I think although some of the dialogue was a bit different, they really nailed that. Like that just
Yeah, it was
felt
great.
Yeah, for sure.
I do miss as comparing it to the game, the shot reverse and the long pause and the look on Ellie's face when he's like, "You kissed Dina," and it's like reverse on her and her face is
And she's like,
it's just, like there's a nice long pause of like, "Oh no," but
Yeah.
it was
Like,
very
she,
well
like
done.
she literally says like, "Oh fuck, this is awkward."
Oh, well, I didn't get to talk about this last week, but I thought the whole episode was gorgeous last week. Literally the only thing I could potentially slightly criticize was Ellie and Dina's kiss in the game is so beautiful and wholesome. And in the TV show, they're about to start raw dogging on the dance floor. Like they are well into it. So like when Jesse's like that's a bit messed up, I was like, he's actually right this time. Like before, mess around, girlies, do your thing. But like
Alright.
this time, I was like, if I were Jesse, I'd be like, what are you guys doing? Come on.
Wait, Ash, are you saying that you're on Seth's side?
Oh God. Oh God.
Oh,
Yeah, I am.
God.
Call them out. Slurs. Let's go. No, obviously not.
I
you
agree.
need,
I
you
think
need
in
to
the
make some
game,
bigot sandwich apologies.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go and get my steak
Ah.
sandwich ready. But no, I
in
don't
the
think
game,
Seth is
it
right.
was. I
Sorry, I
agree.
need to say, I don't think Seth
Okay,
is
yeah,
right.
okay.
Sorry.
Go.
I don't think Seth is right. Let's clear that up before we
Oh
move
no,
on.
no, I didn't think you did think
I'm
Seth was right.
sorry,
But no, there
infected the
was
stream.
there's this whole thing in the game where Ellie is really surprised she's getting kissed.
Yeah.
She's like so oblivious to Dina obviously having a thing for her that she completely is like, oh, what? I'm being kissed. And this is why she gets to say, like, you kissed Dina, she kissed me, because it's true. And I agree. In the game, it was a bit do 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 do. It was like, yeah, it was a bit full on for someone who didn't realize she was being kissed. And that doesn't mean I agree with Seth either.
Yes. I just thought that but I think it also represents the kind of the surprise and then really getting into it because they're like, oh, it's happening. Okay, let's go. Which is also quite funny. But it's a family event, guys. Come on, calm down. That's
Whoa.
Not really. Not really.
Not really.
I will say that I like Seth's apology. I don't know how you all feel about it, but he seems very sincere to me. And
Yeah.
the way that he looks her in the eyes and says, "I shouldn't have said it, and I shouldn't have thought it."
He
And
didn't
I
in the
love that
game.
Ellie doesn't take it.
Yeah.
But I appreciate his apology.
In the game, it was like, oh, please F off, Seth, like you absolute old C word. But like in the TV show, I did feel like they reworked it a lot to feel genuine, to feel some remorse, and Ellie deserved to also tell him no thanks as well. So I liked
that was the
interaction.
bit I liked. I
Yeah.
liked the fact that she's like, well, you've given me your apology. I don't actually have to accept it. Was just glorious.
Because instead of it like being like she makes the Saki comments and he's like, I'm trying to apologize here. Like he's like,
Yeah.
no, that's fair.
Yeah. He accepts it.
I can't. Can we stop being Seth apologists now? We need to like.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think,
Fuck
I mean, it's not going to be a huge thing, but I think that like kind of ever so slightly more sympathetic showing of him is probably going to play into this. Like we probably see a little bit more of him in terms of if they do more backstory about Jackson, and he'll probably appear. I don't think he's going to be like a big staple, but I think they'll show something there, and it's like probably a little bit more sympathetic to his plight. If it's not like, oh, he's just straight out an arsehole. He was an arsehole, but then he was genuinely apologetic. It seemed like, so maybe we can like sympathize over, I don't know, his family getting eaten or whatever happens when we when we next see him.
I don't know. I like that he's just this like just this stand-in, even though however far we are ahead in well, it's not far in the future, but in this alternate timeline where everybody's like trying to survive, there's still bigots and they're still saying stupid comments. You know what I mean? I think he's just kind of a stand-in for that. I don't really want to see him humanized. I'd see him eaten, like just because he's done with now. But like I wouldn't and I don't think it would be true to the nature of the show, which is super duper LGBTQ plus. Like it covers the whole spectrum of sexuality, gender, like everything is involved in that so much. I think giving a humanizing story to Seth in any way past this apology being real would be a disservice to the rest of the stories they're trying to sell. Like I don't think we need to see more from him personally.
Agreed. 100% agreed. I think we're done with Seth now. Off you go. Yeah.
Take your steak.
I mean, I mention it not because I think there should be, but because I think they've said that there will be like something to do with his past in there. And like I say, I think from their point of view, they're probably thinking, okay, we need him to not be completely like hateable to the point that we show something happening and no one cares or they cheer.
Episode 3 starts Seth's backstory. 15 minutes. Going to the title sequence, Seth's backstory. What do you think?
Oh God. I'm trying to
clearly scrape the bottom of the barrel. We can move on. Let's move on.
What would the Seth backstory be that would forgive or make any of it understandable though?
This was
I don't think it's to forgive him. No, I think it's to add context to, like I said, my theory is that they'll show him when they show Eugene, and they're kind of just showing more context around Jackson.
Yeah.
But like, so I think it's not to like redeem him or anything. It's just to give context to the place. But to do that, they need him to like have like a little bit of a, okay, maybe he's not always the worst person in the world. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're going to human. I don't think they're going to do that. I just think they needed it to not be like a complete like.
They capitalize
I think he might just be in the background looking sad.
Yeah,
honestly.
they capitalize on grey morality the whole way through the series. The whole series is about grey. It's not about black and white, is it? So you know, that's also
talking of like backstories and Eugene. Where was Gail this week? Because we know Catherine O'Hara's filmed 3 episodes.
Do we? Ooh,
3 episodes. We know
she's in 3 episodes. Apparently so. So I'm just wondering if we're going to see a bit more of her and under what sort of circumstances that might be.
Probably
we forget
Ellie.
the Eugene and Ellie.
Yeah.
Will they try and get Ellie therapized?
I think they'll try and get her in and she'll be like, please leave me alone. Like, and that will be also quite fun to watch in a heartbreaking way.
Because the other thing I really liked was how Ellie was pretty much saying to everybody, yeah, me and Joel, it's complicated, but it ain't really that deep. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
If she's in 3 episodes, that's really jogging my mind on like how the rest of the season's going to be paced. I won't get into the details of like what we know is going to happen next, but 7 episodes. Okay.
7 episodes for what should be coming suggests more stasis than was in the game, I think is the way of talking around that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it'll be interesting to see more about how the community works in Jackson in general. So
yeah, I think we've got at least one more episode in Jackson and then flashbacks, I think.
Hmm.
I just heard my parents
Okay,
yell
that
from
makes sense.
downstairs, and I know that they're watching the episode right now. So
yeah.
Let me guess what's just happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
But
it's
Beesh, carry on.
I was gonna say,
Sorry.
I think it's like I'd love to be. I don't know how you could, but I'd love to be able to like watch the episode with like having like scrub my mind clear of knowledge, all the knowledge from the like foreknowledge of the game, and think like how it'd be to experience it the first time you experience that be the show rather than the game. Yeah, I'd love to know how different that is as an experience.
I
Hmm.
I think the TV show is incredible, but I also think I don't know if this is a spicy take or if this is going to sound like a part of the TV show, which it is not. But I do think it's an inferior way of experiencing this story, just because you don't get as much time with it as you do in the game. But I could have said that before it started airing as well. So,
Well, I feel
maybe
that way about season 1.
yeah,
Season 2, the pacing and structure is going to be really interesting.
mm,
And just circling back to like one of our first conversations during this, I wanted to say I said this when I was doing talkbacks from season 1. We, as big fans of the games, are blessed and cursed with our deep love of this thing. And although I also felt like I was breaking the ice of my love, and comparing on the first watch and even the second watch, particularly with just bringing up what we talked about earlier, Abby's monologue at Joel felt very expository, and to me, I'm battling like, do I feel it's expository from an actual writing standpoint, or do I feel like it's expository because it's more than what I got and what I'm used to? And to me,
Fair.
I think the answer really is like we just won't know until we see the full season. And I watched season 1 once and then rewatched it about a month ago for the second time, or for the first time a rewatch. And I was much kinder to that season on the second watch because I had enough distance, and I hadn't played part 1 in a while, so I was like able to just
Mm.
isolate this as this is what The Last of Us is. I'm not comparing it to what I know or thinking like, why did they change this? Why did they change this? Um, I think like critiques to the expository stuff and like everyone's interpretation is completely valid, but that's my personal experience. Is like I'm struggling with like, okay, I got to just like take my foot off the gas and just like let the show happen and
Mm.
see if like by the end of the season I feel the same about that monologue, or if like I'm actually really
Yeah.
glad that they put that detail in there.
Yeah. Fair. The one shot I am very, very happy that they changed. The one part of it I'm just the bit that actually made me cry was the very last shot of the episode with Ellie lying with her face on Joel's. That broke me. I hadn't
Yeah.
sobbed yet, but that broke me.
Well, I mean, if just not to like put salt on the wound, emotional wounds, but I did see an interview from Craig Mazin where he did say that the reason she's doing that after she's been like kicked in the ribs and wounded badly is because she didn't think she was going to live, and she basically crawled over to die alongside
Remembering
him.
him.
So, just to throw that in there.
When did you stop loving me?
Oh.
Why would you tell me this?
oh
So
my
this is
god,
something I say a lot. Just when did you stop loving me?
oh my god,
Oh,
that's
That
such a-
nearly made me tear up. That made me
yes,
tear up.
Yeah.
same.
No,
God.
what did make me tear up like when I was watching it? I think both times because I watched it twice today. Like, and the point where the music kicks in and Ashley Johnson's voice starts, and he's like,
Oh,
so for anyone who's watching this who doesn't know, when The Last of Us 2 was first being released, the very first announcement that they ever made for it was a trailer which had that song in. It shows Ellie in a room. There's like a body on the floor, and she starts tuning up a guitar, and then she starts singing Through the Valley, that exact song. And then Joel walks through the house past the other bodies to find her, and like as she finishes the song, he's got a very kind of ghostly presence that led to a lot of people immediately theorizing Joel was dead. But that's probably like one of the like most impactful trailers that they ever did for it, and that song is still like I think
It
one of like
actually made me cry.
got like that impact. So as soon as that appeared in the show, I was just like something ice crawled up my spine, and it was just like,
Oh,
oh, this is that's the point where I was like, oh
Ashley Johnson's voice will do that to you if she was singing the phone book, though.
yeah.
I
But,
sat
I
there and
mean-
went, she sounds a lot like Ellie, actually. And then I looked it up afterwards. I was like, oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah, but I mean, the added
Oh.
context in the show is that obviously it's Ellie's mum who's singing that song as well.
Right.
Oh,
I
did you
didn't
read
think
the
about that.
Entertainment Weekly article? Because that was a really interesting. If you're mentioning that, did you see the exclusive that Crave Mazin did about it?
No, I might have seen snippets of it, but I've not seen the whole thing.
I was reading it earlier when I was like, I'm sure that's Ashley Johnson. And he's done a little interview in, I think it's Entertainment Weekly, and they talk. He specifically brought back that moment because of the 2016 trailer where Ellie is singing the song, and it is that song, and then it's also mixed with new vocals from Ashley Johnson as well. And he was saying that it was very much this kind of image of Ashley Johnson playing Ellie's mom after she's and doing this vocal right after she's just lost her last parental figure. So she got the parental figure that she never met, the parental figure that's just died in front of her, and it's like these people that are no longer with her, but she still like has their presence with them. She's got Joel's body, she's got her mother's voice in her head, sort of thing, if we were to see it as kind of diegetic sound. But it was just a really beautiful way of the whole like Ellie's lineage, Ellie's family, and again, like of the lineage of the character as well, going from Ashley Johnson to Bella Ramsey. It just the article itself just made me feel sad. I was like, oh, that's such a gorgeous way of
You
doing
got
it.
me crying again.
Yeah, they
I
know
don't
what
what's
they're doing,
wrong
man.
with me today. Oh,
Uh,
maybe
But you-
first thing in the morning isn't the time for me to cry. I should watch it later.
but yeah, I mean that's a really kind of good point
Yeah.
as well. I didn't really thought about. But on that scene, and like there's loads of little details and different things. But one thing I want to come back to, again in Abby's monologue to Joel, when she mentions about him killing her dad, she mentions a detail that we don't get in the game. We don't get Abby's age in the game, because I think the general assumption is that she's a couple of years older than Ellie. So like she's 16 in the hospital, and then like 20, 21 in in Seattle. But she says instead she's 19, which puts her at the same age that's when she loses her dad as Ellie is when she loses Joel.
Yeah.
Oh God,
The
yeah.
synchronicity is beautiful.
Yeah, they can play with those timelines a little bit to get the point hammered in as well, can't they? For what's to come.
I mean, it's also convenient because it gives a better explanation for why Owen has such a like rich and full beard in the hospital.
Who put this man on screen?
Honestly, it's last week. We saw it. Actually, I was complaining that Owen was too tall.
Yeah.
It was just far too tall. It really just made me go on edge a bit. But actually, because it did, I was like, no, it's giving me the Wiggins. But this week, because Caitlin Dever's Abby has so much presence. Because she was just, the whole room was paying attention to her and doing what she said, this whole authority that she carries around made her seem bigger and actually made Owen look shorter in a weird way. Once the character was developed, her stood at the graveside with Owen, it just looked like that. But now I think with the aura she has and that power that she carries, it was, she looked a lot bigger. It sort of balanced itself out a bit.
Yeah.
You know, just to compare that to the first season, I love when the performances are so strong. It creates that dichotomy between where you assume power would be, but where it actually is. And I think about Troy's performance in the first season to the cult leader. So the cult leader is the guy with all the power, and Troy is taller, but he's meeker, and he
Yeah.
plays that so well. So yeah, I love that.
I think Troy Baker's an underestimated actor full stop, and he should be in more stuff.
Because
I'd
he's
love
not,
to see him
not
in-
in like every single game ever already.
Yeah, I'd love to see him go over to
Yeah, but
TV.
that's
So in
games. I'm
games,
talking about
he is
TV.
everywhere.
Yeah, I'm talking about TV.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no,
He
no,
yeah,
could
no. I
absolutely
mean,
pivot to
I
television.
yeah.
yeah,
He could do a lot more
absolutely.
character acting for
Mm.
sure.
Yeah.
What do we think about like Abby's friends, like the Salt Lake crew? Because we see there's a lot of like the scene where Joel dies is a lot lighter in terms of it's in an open, airy room and you can see everything and see everyone's faces, as opposed to this like kind of small claustrophobic feeling basement. Like Ellie comes from the basement and goes up to find Joel, compared to going down that stairway to find him in the basement, and it all kicking off, which is something to talk about in and of itself. I think, like what
Yeah.
people thought of it, but also it kind of allows us to see more of their reactions, and like with the exception of Manny, I think you can see kind of the horror and discomfort at what's going on.
Mhm.
And like I think most explicitly Mel, who we see crying at one point, and also who constantly gets told to shut up by Caitlin's just having not just shut up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what do we think about kind of how that's portrayed? Because they're not really there's not really any division shown between them in that scene in the game, but here we get to see a lot more of it.
Oh, I forgot her surname, but Tati, who's playing Nora, I love her as an actor. Sabrina, amazing, and just like crops up in all the cool magical alternative stuff. So to see her in The Last of Us, I feel like she can do no wrong because I just see her face. And I'm like, yes, like I just think and I think she's a really good Nora as well. Like has a lot of expression that just tells you what's going on. And obviously she is quite shocked and horrified, but they're all trying to get to terms with it. And I think that'll play in well as her character grows and we see her and what she does within the team. Mel being like a weeping mess. I don't know. I think they were all caricatures of what their characters are in the game, which is a necessary thing for the TV show to give us the shorthand of who these people are. So Manny being a bit of a hothead and being the one who gets knifed across the face instead of nameless other man that I can't remember. Well, he has a name, but I can't remember what it is. But it wasn't Manny that gets slashed. That's it. Yeah.
One of because there's three members of the crew who don't exist as far as we know, which is Jordan, Leah, and Nick.
That's it. Yeah. And I think getting rid of those and streamlining the crew is good. And then kind of having Manny as the one who gets slashed makes sense. Manny, I thought, was the weakest of the bunch because he is like devilishly likable in the game, even when he's being a pendejo. He is his favorite word. I'm glad that he got that in at the end. I was like,
Same.
good. But like,
I wanted him to spit on him though.
yeah. Did he not do I thought he did a little.
No.
I thought he did
Oh.
a little
Yeah,
pendeo.
I thought you did.
Did he?
Maybe a
Oh,
tiny
okay, so he
one.
did it before.
Like,
Okay.
I think if he did, a lot of people missed that, myself included, because like that was one of the big things I saw people saying was there was no spit.
I mean, he might have just been looking over it. This is like, with the Chris Pine thing where they thought that man spat on him, and it was the celebrity drama. Harry Styles, that was it when Harry Styles spat on
Yeah,
Chris
Harry Styles
Pine.
spit on Chris Pine's foot.
Yeah, but that's what's happening here. It's like, did he spit? I don't know, but I thought he spit, but maybe I just inserted it into my head because I'm used to seeing it in the game. But yeah, I think the characters, again, it's the shorthand, it's the quick version of them. Mel being a crier but a healer, perfect. I think we get to see that she has emotional depth, but wants the best for everyone, even in this dark situation, but still supports her friends to the point that she's there and will be quiet and will just do as she's told. We got Nora, who's uncomfortable but stoic, and again doing what she needs to do and then getting it ready to go. We've got Owen, who is the one that's going to challenge Abby the most, but wants to get the job done. Will still look after her. And we've got Manny, who he should be more supportive and cheerful towards Abby, whereas he's very much just grim-faced the whole way through and then gets slashed. So I would love to see more on him. I thought his was the only one that I didn't quite jive with.
Yeah, apparently with Mel's someone was saying that she was crying just because like the actress was crying because of the intensity of the scene, and they just kind of left it in.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an accidental thing that just kind of became part of the show.
Yeah.
'Cause they just said, "Oh, that looks good."
I
But
think
the
it says
fact
a lot
that
for a
she
character.
does that, yeah, it does. Sorry, finish, Ash.
No, sorry, I was
interrupted you.
just slipping that in. Sorry. Yeah, I just think it does a lot for a character.
I think it does, and I think actually last week I was saying about how Mel needed to just get over herself over Abby because but then that was more game Mel, because game
Yeah.
Mel doesn't have all this background of Abby snapping at her and shouting at her and telling her what to do all the time, and the fact that she used to go out with Owen. So I think this whole thing of seeing Mel as quite meek and quite subservient, and Abby still finding the need to shout at her, actually puts a lot of that into context, which makes things a lot better for me to see, because then I'm like, yeah, I can see why there's a dislike on both sides, because Abby doesn't like anybody that isn't killing Joel currently, and and Mel doesn't like Abby, and I'm not bloody surprised, because before I was like, oh, come on, get over it, she went out with your boyfriend, behave. But now it's like, okay, there's actual reason for this dislike. I found that added context really useful. I think it will come
Well, I mean, we
very
don't
handy
actually.
later on.
That's actually one of the things that kind of is omitted in the show, which I want to get into kind of when we go to spoil the game as well.
Yeah.
But before we do, like, if anyone's got any thoughts on like what I mentioned about the scene and the fact that it takes place upstairs instead of downstairs in a wider area.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. The fact that it's upstairs and all those windows, and he can see safety or relative safety. The fact that Jackson's looks like it's on fire is one thing, but he can see home. And this is happening while he can see home. Just added that extra layer of heartbreak for me, because he's still talking to him. Come in, come in. And yeah, that's I think was a really good choice.
Yeah. I think it kind of like it. Oh, I don't know, because white represents innocence and purity and all that kind of thing. But like, you know, like taking them a level above, like giving it the heavens sort of thing, giving that little bit of foreshadowing that he's not for this earth anymore because we're taking him higher and higher. Whereas in the game it was lower and lower, so it was more like hell. It's an interesting difference between the two, because he's gone from because I think in the game he is the villain of the Abbey side of things, whereas right now he and obviously he was our hero then, but I just think because it's Pedro Pascal and because of the way that the series is set up and these opening episodes with him, like my dad was fully like, I hate Ellie. How was he treating Joel like that? Yeah, it was like, I don't get it. So like, which I was like, I understand because of you. This is the only context that you've got for what's happening at the moment, but also, and yeah, I think putting him on that pedestal and putting him in the bright light and kind of making it all very clear as day is a different stylistic choice, but in the same vein as giving different levels.
Sorry, I just had the image in my head and of like your dad siding with Joel as the dad, and then you siding with like the grumpy 19-year-old.
Yeah, literally. It's our relationship in a nutshell, but it was not quite as severe as Joel and Ellie, you know.
Can't wait to see what your mum says.
Yeah, I know. I want to see what she'll be in the middle going, well, I think they both have points. Like that'll be the
Phil's got his parents watching it too.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to get my mum to watch it, and then like I think that's a lost cause. But my dad will watch season 2, so I'm very interested to see what he has to say about it.
I'm interested in that.
She's one of those people that's just not as expressive about like entertainment. It's not like, oh my god, it was crazy. So when I ask her about it, she'll be like, wow, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's basically what I'm expecting from my dad. Is like, what did you think of this? Well, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, that's kind of is going to be his level of like, he doesn't really get animated watching things either. Like, you know, when people are like being at the edge of the seat or shouting at the telly and stuff like that. Unless it's football, then that's a different matter. But if it's just like a TV show, he's just kind of like. And then if you talk, he's like, "Well, I'm trying to watch this."
Yeah.
Now I know where you get that from, because I'm a telly shouter and he isn't.
Oh yeah, if
Mhm.
I'm watching, silence or death. Like, but afterwards, yap.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I am a telly watcher. A telly shelter. Has to be done.
On the topic of how Pedro's Joel is like depicted in a lighter light in the show versus the game. I think I do feel that as well, that the game part 1 and 2 really pushes Joel's choice at the end of the first game as objectively the bad thing. Like that it was the wrong call to make. And the show so far in the first 2 episodes, I mean, like I love that scene with Gale. And like is really being forced to process what he's done, and he feels such shame about it, but then defiance as he looks back up at her and gets up and says, I saved her. Like I did the right thing. And I think generally the show is doing I don't want to say better job, but it's I think challenging the idea of the morality of that choice like a lot more pointedly in these first couple
Mhm.
episodes.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said. Not to just argue with everyone about everything this time, but there's like there's something to be said about how the objectivity of it seeming like the bad decision is because it is the bad decision for everyone except Joel. Whereas like at the end of the first game, it is subjectively the right thing. Like we all, like everybody agrees. You know what I mean? Like even though it is terrible and very divisive, I do think there's a subjectivity of like that was the right thing to do. And then when the game opens up a little bit more and we go towards Ellie's story and Jackson and see basically we're folding in so many new characters that widens our scope from just 2 people. It becomes more objective, and objectively it was the wrong thing to do, but subjectively it was absolutely the right thing to do. And I think like trying to figure out the perspective shift is interesting in the game. I like how in the TV show you're not doing that balancing act though. It's very much like here's the pros, here's the cons, and all of them are happening at the same time. Like it's up to you to make your mind up about it. Joel did save her, but also that moment with Ellie. Oh my god, there's a moment with Ellie where they're like, oh, they couldn't be saved when Jesse and Ellie are sat down and they're talking about Eugene. It's oh well, couldn't be saved. And she's like, oh yeah. Like there's
Mhm.
that part of it as well. So ooh,
Mhm.
it's interesting, isn't it?
Totally. But oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. Carry on. It'll come back.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
on that,
It was more to
obviously
do, I
that
think, with no, it's gone again. Carry on.
on that point of like Jesse talking about Eugene and Ellie kind of lamenting, I think that's probably a good point to go into. Say there will be spoilers now for parts that if you only watch the TV show, these things are potentially spoiling the future of the show. So be warned, because we're going to talk about things that are in the game that weren't in the show. But there's a couple of things that are omitted, and like one of the things that people noticed episode 1 was that we got Ellie and Tommy sniping together early on, which seemed to suggest they weren't doing Finding Strings chapter. Now, at the end of the Finding Strings chapter, obviously they find that like a couple of teenagers who died because one got bit and the other one shot himself. And Ellie kind of confronts Joel over what happened, and we haven't seen any more immune people. And he repeats the lie. I'm wondering whether Eugene is the stand-in for that, because Joel had to put him down because he was infected, and whether that's, if we're going to see him in a flashback, is that going to be the point where like maybe they'll merge the 2 conversations together where there's like the lie, but also she discovers the lie. I don't know whether they're going to kind of push them into one rather than have 2 separate flashbacks. But
I've remembered what I was going to say. It was it was about I think it was Dylan said earlier about the ending of Joel being a little bit anticlimactic, whereas in the game it's like a big with an iron, a 7 iron, I
Well, I
think.
feel both are anticlimactic. I do think that it's
Okay,
a purpose. Both are purposefully anticlimactic in the sense
but
of the
the
luck
thing
that Abby just stumbles into finding our favorite character.
fair. What I was going to say is the thing that we didn't have in the game, if I remember rightly, but we did have, is the sound off screen of Abby beating the absolute tar out of Joel and the physical exertion she put into that, because they were talking what's going on, and in the background all you can hear is up, bang, up, like really, really smacking the shit out of him. Now that, I think, made it, that was the climax for me, the fact that she'd let herself go that much she couldn't stop. That was the climax for me. And the actual ending of him was just the, okay, we've got to finish it now because we've got to go, bang, done. But the actual fact that she's beating someone who obviously is unconscious by then, is bleeding and bloody, and she's still going, that to me was one of the most poignant parts. The fact that this rage had overtaken her so much she couldn't stop.
Yeah, and yet Joel still tries to get up when Ellie says get up.
Get up.
He still tries.
Oh,
Get
Sorry.
up.
Well, Phil, to your question, I think I was thinking about Gail a moment ago too, and I was thinking about how she's going to be in 2 more episodes, how Catherine O'Hara is in 2 more episodes. I think we're not. I think Eugene is the replacement of that,
yeah.
and we get a taste of that kind of up front. I think Gail will be in the next episode as they recover and maybe like decide to, in spoilers now, yeah. So how they decide to go to Seattle, and I think that will be the end of the next episode, is recovery and we're off, and that's the end of the episode. And then somewhere in the next 4 episodes, the last 4 episodes of the season, it'll either be sprinkled in there, the flashbacks will be sprinkled in there, or there will be one episode that is like a bunch of flashbacks, and within that I think will be the Eugene story, and I think the big confrontation where Ellie goes back to Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And I think that will be it in terms of confrontation between Joel and Ellie. Maybe birthday gift too, but that was less of a confrontation and more of a like, we both know you're lying and I'm lying, and this is all a lie.
With the liars graffiti on the wall, and it just kind of ends.
Oh, it's
awkwardly
probably the best frame in the entire second game.
Yeah, I think that I think birthday gift might be tied in with Eugene, just because I think we're going to have this beautiful moment with I would love for us to just spend a whole episode in the museum, like, 'cause I think that it's deserving of it and has the time. I think the ending might be you know, stumbling across, like, however the Eugene story plays out, whether it's in Jackson or whether they check in on someone or someone has a bite in it, and it's this really nasty, violent end to something that was a very beautiful time otherwise, and it's kind of that inescapable violence of this world and the inescapable violence of Joel as well, in particular. And the consequences of his actions, where like they have a beautiful day, they're doing the lies, and then they're faced with, you know, infected. So I think that could be where they combine the two. I really don't think Finding Strings is going to happen either, from what you said, Phil, where it was you know, they've done the sniping, but there literally is either it might be episode 1. I think it's episode 1. Joel comes past with a guitar and says, the strings are shot on this, I'll fix it. So we don't have
on that front as well. Did you know? I don't know if anyone else noticed, because they cut out the porch scene. Obviously, they don't show Ellie and Joel's conversation, but someone pointed out in the second rewatch that the guitar is back in Ellie's possession.
Right, yeah.
In episode 2.
We need the flashback to the porch scene, definitely. That'll happen tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next episode. I think that'll be next episode 1. But
so you're thinking that like what we got was her walking away, but when we revisit that scene, she decides to walk back.
Yeah, because there's lots of like, I don't think you're meant to pick up on it if you don't already know, but I think the fact that it's there is like a detail, in the same way that the birthday gift pin is on your backpack. So if you know that scene, like flashback's going to happen at some point, like, oh, that's
Yeah, it's
That's there.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think the strings, though he would not have explicitly mentioned, "I will sort this strings for this strings," but grammatically correct. I will not. The strings wouldn't have been mentioned explicitly if it wasn't a little seed for the game fans to go, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
finding strings."
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have just come up later in a flashback. It's already happened. So I think you are right in that. That's been written off.
Yeah, but I think that scene of like Ellie seeing people who died because of the infection and questioning the value, like, you know, what she could have done, she could have saved the world, blah blah blah. I think Eugene is going to be the stand in for that particular moment in that flashback. Just from like as soon as seeing Jesse talk about it and like, you know, oh, to survive a war and then go out like that, and then it just kind of clicked in my head at that point. It was like, oh, that's how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
I have a prediction for
Oh.
how Eugene dies.
Oh. Oh.
Because
Oh.
she says how you did it. It was
Yeah.
how you did it. And I think that he got bit and didn't know. And then he went back to Jackson and
Ooh.
finds out he's bit, and Joel walks up to him and shoots him in the head.
Ha!
And that's
Oh.
like, it's kind of an instantaneous thing, and it's what you do, but yeah, just like
Ooh.
coldness to the decision, and maybe even in front of Gail.
Hey, Gail.
He drops her shopping everywhere, and
Well, it happens in the house.
apples
doesn't
rolling
it?
down the road.
It
Of course,
happens in
of
the
course,
house.
a bowl of oranges tips over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what she said though, but it happens in the house. Like in the house that it was either in the house that me and Eugene lived, or me in the house that you killed. I don't know, something like
Yeah,
that. My
I don't
prediction is it's
think
the demonic doobie that kills him.
Yeah, I don't think she said that he killed him in the house, but I think it was more like him being in the
Within
house where they
his
lived,
house, yeah.
and he's the
Yeah.
one who killed him.
I don't know. I
I
feel like it
think,
happened in the
yeah.
house. That's my there's my prediction. Sees Gail. See you, Eugene.
Well, we might need to take bets.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how that unfolds. But there was a few other bits that we didn't get, which I think are probably potentially more interesting into it to some degree than what we did get in terms of like discussion around it. Because I think the one that I've seen the most outcry about is the fact that we didn't get the scene where it's Ellie and Dina who discovered the weed and then have the kiss and then everything else that happens in that scene. Because obviously Ellie's with Jesse, and well, frankly, that just would have been awkward. But that's probably like the big omission that people think of it has been like left out. Does that mean it's not going to happen at all, or are we going to get something similar somewhere else, perhaps mingled in with some guitar strumming and Take on Me?
You made that sound really dirty.
She's
I
strumming the
didn't mean to.
tiny string. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, maybe some kind of Take on Me moment. I feel like what's missing that I think is needed is Ellie's reveal to Dina, like in a tender moment, revealing I am immune, and Dina being like, yeah, you are, sure.
Yeah.
But the tenderness between them, I feel like is well established with the moment that we got. I don't think that is as necessary.
To be fair, that might be why we had the really horny kiss, is because it's like they're not doing a sex scene,
Yeah.
so they just made it more like feverish sort of kiss to show that they've got that sexual tension as well as like, you know, nice little crush. Like it is a bit more intense than that. So that could, I keep using the word shorthand, but that could have been good shorthand if they're not going to do that scene, which they didn't. Ellie and Dina is such a gorgeous scene in the game. I was sad that we didn't get that, but inserting more Jesse is also nice because he doesn't get loads. So
I feel kind of like that we missed out not having the Dina and Ellie thing in the greenhouse with all the weed, because that for me was the moment where it turned from we like each other, we had a kiss, to we're together. You go, I go. And that was that moment for me. So I think losing that moment, but also getting more Jesse is
yeah,
it's never going to win. But I think that we lost something without for them not having that moment where they both acknowledge to each other that there's something there.
There is this
Mm.
interesting dynamic as well that's been like more than hinted at. Like they've outright said that Dina is like a daughter to Joel as well, which is where they're kind of probably bringing their Dina's going to come with you from, is because she's like, well, he was kind of a dad to me too,
Yeah.
which then
Plus,
makes their
she's
relationship.
seen them as well. Like that change, or almost more justifies her coming in because she's seen what they all look like. She knows what the names are.
Yeah, exactly. She's got a bit more to play for, hasn't she? Which is interesting. But yeah, the thing is, right, I just think it kind of muddies the relationship water slightly, saying that she also had like a father-daughter relationship with Joel. It makes it like a little bit weirder, which I'm not a massive fan of. I think that I understand like the kind of, oh yeah, this is the ideal relationship that we should have, where Dina's asking questions and she wants to build things with me. But what we would have got from them having the weed greenhouse scene is seeing that that's Dina's nature, because Eugene taught her all about wiring as well. And that's where we learn that Dina's good with tech, because Eugene taught her loads of stuff, and used to take her there because she knew where it was in the game, didn't she? She was the one who knew where the hideout was, because Eugene used to take her there as well, and that he taught her what. I swear there's something in the game about him teaching her bits and pieces, basically.
Yeah.
But that she's handy and that she is genuinely interested and invested in everyone, I think would have been a nice kind of opener to, like, yes, Joel saw it as a bit more of a closer relationship, but also this is just Dina's nature as well. Also that they changed the film watching thing. Like, wasn't it Ellie who was like, I'm gonna go and watch this film with Joel, and then in the TV show Dina's like, I'm gonna watch the film with Joel, let me use that as a way to invite you in. Which again, it changes the dynamic. It makes the Dina daughter relationship kind of more established. That's probably something I'm not sure about just yet. I need to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, real quick on that, I had there were two people that were friends, and maybe after this, former friends, that said, "Is there something going on between Dina and Joel? They're gonna go watch a movie by themselves
Yeah.
together." Two people said this to me, and the first person I was like, "What the hell's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely not. And then last night, second person said it because they were watching the first episode with me for the first time for season 2, and they were like, "Yeah, like like they're gonna go off and watch a movie by themselves together? Like, is something there?" And I was like, "What
See,
the hell
No.
is happening here?"
I read
Did
it
any of
as
you get that?
No, yeah, no, not at all.
I-
That was Dina establishing something that Joel and Ellie like to make them meet up. Like, that was Dina meddling.
yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
that's Dina
absolutely.
trying to be like, A, I want to fix this relationship between you two, but
Yeah.
B, I'm doing it so like we can bone kind of thing. And
Yeah.
effectively, we as in Ellie and Dina, not Dina and Joel, because
Yeah.
Well, I just
'Cause
want to say that it took me an
Dina's
hour
like
and
that.
18 minutes before I decided to make it weird.
Well done.
yeah,
I only
but,
took 12.
I mean, I do wonder whether people are seeing that like not so much because it's Dina and Joel, but because it's Pedro, and they just kind of assume that everyone wants to, you know. Well, of course you would,
Which
wouldn't
is
you?
fair, of course. But then we in the party we see Dina dancing with everyone, and Jesse and Dina and Ellie are just like, yep, that's what she's like.
Mhm.
She's gregarious, she's outgoing, she's friendly with people. So the idea that she was going off to watch a film with Joel, to me, it was just like, Joel, it could have been like, Joel, I'm going to go and watch a movie. Dina, what are you watching? Joel, such and such. Me, Dina, not seen that. I'm coming too. And is the sort of character who would invite herself to go watch film.
Yeah.
So no, this whole weird stuff didn't occur to me.
No, well,
Amazing.
obviously, everybody on this call is sane, and I was just
I
asking
mean, I
whether or
wouldn't go
not
that
any
far.
of your friends maybe said that
No.
to you too. So they're just my
No,
friends. Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at my friend list again.
I haven't spoke to anyone about this episode till now, though, in it. Like, so maybe I'll talk to everyone tomorrow, and they'll be like, so I'll report back if anything does change.
My
but-
friends are busy sending me pictures of themselves watching this episode. I've got a
Wow.
collection of people going.
Yeah.
It's great.
My God.
Yeah.
tomorrow will be the day, like for most people, because most people in the UK will be watching it kind of effectively a day later than everyone, because it's 2 a.m. when it first airs, and yeah. I thought about it, and then I thought, no, I like being asleep too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the official kind of time is it 9 o'clock? It airs on like Sky TV and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be getting a lot more reactions, I think, tomorrow.
Yeah, well, now right now, will be when
Yeah.
it'll be wrapping up in about 20 minutes. So we'll have
Yep.
the reviews coming in. I did see
Wow.
a comment earlier on Instagram that really made me laugh, and I feel like is an appropriate thing to say towards the end of this, which is just like Pedro Pascal sure knows how to leave a HBO show, and I was like, he's done it again.
Right.
He's
I was
done it
thinking about that
again.
too.
Right. Yeah, he does. Oh,
Yeah.
my poor Pedro.
I'm trying to think of something I've seen him in where he doesn't die.
The
In
friendship
Unbearable
buddy
Lightness,
comedy. Yes.
unbearable
Yeah.
weight of
Massive
something
talent.
talent. That's the one.
That's true. That's true.
And
Really,
he also
he's
doesn't
so
die
good
in
in that.
Narcos, and you do see his bottom in Narcos.
Oh my goodness. He doesn't
Oh,
die in The
yeah.
Mandalorian. That's still going as well. He has a good
Yeah.
death life ratio.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking of the Game of Thrones, Gladiator
I
2.
screamed.
Spoilers, I guess.
I was
there's
just
been others.
happy he had a Medusa thing on his breastplate in Gladiator 2 because I'm obsessed with Medusa. I've just had a giant tattoo of her on my back. Yeah, like this big. It's huge.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I love Medusa, and
You
I'm
can
writing
catch
a poem.
men out looking from behind, be like, turn a
This is
stone,
it, because
baby.
she's got my eyes
Mhm.
and my eye color, or she'll
Yeah.
have my eye color when she's finished. So I'm like, Pedro can do no wrong for me, especially in Narcos. He is very, very good in Narcos and doesn't die.
Mm. Well, thinking about the future, I wrote down what all the information that Dina knows, because Dina's going to be the source of information for how they're
Yeah.
going to go on track, right? Unless they leave something behind. And the three things are all of the names, because Happy said all of the names out loud. The WLF logo she saw, and then just the possibility of it being fireflies, because Abby doesn't confirm it, but she
Yeah.
basically does in her tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. The WLF thing, that's actually that's a great catch, because I thought, oh yeah, they're showing the wolf thing so that people will go, what is that? But actually it's a really nice reference for Dina to have in mind, isn't it? So that's a good
Yeah.
point.
Mhm.
Yeah. The wolves are coming. Oh woo, oh woo. Sorry, I didn't commit to that, and it was horrible.
Yeah,
Oh,
I wonder how they're gonna track it. I wonder how they're gonna show that. They have the radio. Maybe they'll radio somewhere. And
So I mean, WLF. Someone might know that stands for Washington Liberation Front and kind of go, oh well, that's who that is. So
Yeah.
Seattle.
What's going to happen with Tommy as well? What do we think? Now we've had episode 2 and we've seen him like crying in Maria's arms at the end of the episode, and we assume his son's alive. I know Dylan hopes otherwise, but like we don't like. Do you think he's gonna come with them? He's not, is he?
I
He's
think,
not.
oh yeah,
Yeah, because again, his motivation for going is because I mean he leaves the letter and says I can't leave it undone, and it is his brother, so that might still drive part of it, but it's mainly seeing how determined Ellie is to go and wanting to stop her going. So he's like, I'll go. He gives another lie about give me another day to like win her over. Which incidentally, that argument that they should stay because Jackson will be vulnerable is a much stronger argument now that they've been like decimated by infected, and part of the wall needs to be rebuilt.
And there's tendrils and stuff, and we don't want to go back on hashtag Benji Death Watch.
Yeah, but again, I do think if he chooses to leave to protect Ellie, and then goes on the journey that he goes on in the game, and ends up, getting shot, losing his sight, losing his leg, and then turning bitter, and then forcing Ellie out again, that all becomes, again, it's already a really heart-rending journey that you don't see in the game, but I think we'll see more of in the show.
Hmm.
But then you add into that he's doing all that, and he's got a kid to lose as well as a wife.
Yeah, and a whole community that he's running.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So this changes my mind about the bit at the beginning of the episode,
Hmm.
because now actually for that forward, if we go forward, the idea that we're seeing him running the community and running the safety checks and doing all that, I take that bit back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can think critically, and if I see a way out, I will take it. I still thought that Abby's speech was far too long, but
Yeah.
yeah, that
I'll give you that one.
I can see, yeah, that I can see. I'm glad we're in accord.
But yeah, I think that's the point. Is like
yeah,
he's got so much to
God,
lose
Jackson.
that he'll lose from trying to protect Ellie, essentially, and we get to see more of it this time. That's kind of
Yeah.
my prediction.
I don't think we're gonna get the full Tommy journey. I can't see a way that I don't know, because it is The Last of Us, so it would be nasty to send him on that journey with all this stuff. I think we might get him like setting something up or having like a hero moment, or like, running parallel for a little bit, but then being like, right, I need to go look after my family, or like I'll do this much and then I'm going to go and do this, and then has some tragedy strike in that way. I really hate the thought of his relationship with Maria being threatened, because I love the way that they work together with the community and the stuff that they do together to build up Jackson. I hate the idea of him suddenly becoming this like hot-headed, revenge-driven freak that like throws it all away and like sullies his character a little bit. I think it might be too far. Like I don't feel like there's justification there. There's hurting, and then there's like it going too far.
Yeah.
So
But if he does that after he's lost his sight, lost his ability to walk properly, and essentially to fight.
yeah, but that happening at all, I mean, you know what I mean? Like if I don't know if I don't know. I feel like they've done a lot of setting up to make a lot of good reasons for Tommy to stay. They wouldn't have given him a son. They wouldn't have need to shown all these safety things. I feel like it is a little bit of like, here's all the reasons why we're not sending Tommy out. Please don't be annoyed with us, because it makes logical sense that he's here. But I would also like for Tommy to have that journey because it is a really cool, like, to be watching Tommy go on a sniper run and being able to see it from his perspective would be badass, because we don't get that in the game.
Yeah,
I really
I
think
also-
that. Oh, go ahead, D.
No, go ahead.
I really think that he is going to go on the journey. It just feels so integral to The Last of Us to me, and we've set his sniper abilities up, and to me, like the amount of hurdles that have been created for him to get over, and I felt this about the game too, because I think some people believe, wow, like what jumps and leaps this character made without us really getting the setup appropriate to see that happen. To me, I like to kind of challenge my perspective and force myself to go, well, this did happen. He is deciding to go.
Yeah.
So because all these hurdles are there and he's still doing that, what does that say about the intensity of the love that he has for his brother? And I think we're also at the benefit of the first season being a little bit different than the game. And I actually didn't love this change, but I think it benefits even better his decision to probably go over these hurdles was that like they missed each other. And I think now I know in the game it's like, I never want to see your goddamn face again. Like, never want to see you again. Joel's like, I don't even know if this guy is gonna take me in. But he goes to Jackson and is like, whoa, wait, I'm being welcomed by my brother. But in the show, it's like, no, I'm going to find my brother. Like he's my blood. So that blood tie, I think, to see him, Tommy, leave his wife, leave his kid. Maybe Maria's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what?
Yeah.
You're a staple of his community. And he's like, I have to do it. I have to go.
Not the Tommy
Okay.
voice. God, he does.
So, okay, I'm going to take it back further. I'm going to take it back to season 1. I'm going to take it all the way back to the Tommy and Joel relationship there. Right at the beginning, we have Tommy doing his thing, like trying to get them out, and I'm doing this, but he's following orders, right?
Mm.
Joel makes some sort of reference, and I can't remember whether it was game or program, but I think it was both, as to the fact that Tommy is good at following orders, but he's not overly great at thinking for himself. So we have the big brother, little brother thing. We have all of that. So whatever happens, Tommy was always going to take him in. But Joel, if we then go to season 1, episode 3, even though my heart breaks, and like the bit where Joel is reading Bill's letter, and we get that real sense that these men exist to look after other people. That is their purpose. Like, not I'm old, I'm satisfied, and you are my purpose. I will cry again. Do not test me. But the idea that these men are there to protect people, to look after people. And so when Joel dies, I think the shift there with Tommy will be, well, Joel isn't here, because in the interim, he's learned not just to follow orders, he's learned to become a leader in his own right. And this is a growth that we see now. Again, I take it back from the beginning of episode 2, where he is being a leader, where people are turning to him for information of how to run their lives. So when Joel dies, I can definitely see Tommy saying, right, well, Joel's purpose was to protect Ellie, so I have to do right by Joel to protect Ellie. So it would make sense for me that he would go on the journey, no matter how pissed off Maria's going to be, and she's going to be mad, right? She's going to be really, and I can see a Benji trying to run after him and going missing for a bit, and don't you go anywhere scene. Like, my head is just flying off now because it's that time of ADHD day. But I can really see him going off, not to avenge Joel, but to do right by Joel by looking after Ellie.
Yeah.
So I can see him going as not a big revenge thing, but I'm going to step up and take my brother's place because this was what was important to him.
Oh God, it all makes sense.
Soz.
That could lead to him, instead of him going off in the hopes of prevent Ellie going, if Ellie goes off first, he goes in pursuit.
Of her, yeah.
Hmm.
That's what I can see.
Yeah, I can see
because that would be the only thing that could pull him away from Jackson.
Huh. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Ellie goes off, Dina runs off, and then maybe Jesse and Tommy go together
Yeah.
to chase after them.
Oh, that'd be a good pairing. Those two together would
Wouldn't
be
it?
a
That would be
goody cop
great.
story.
Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. I'd love it, like the odd couple.
And then obviously the question of like how much we see comes to, because we've got an awful lot to get through in like 4 episodes of we know that we see kind of up to what was day 2 in the show of Ellie's with Nora dying. We know we see Jesse and Ellie together, which was day 3 in the game, but they might mix the timeline around, so it might not necessarily be the 3rd day. But we've also got like the birthday gift flashback. We've got stuff we're going to see with Isaac and the Seraphites and that conflict as well. They've got an awful lot of ground to like cover, so be interested to see where they go
certain things
and what they choose to
there
highlight
are
and
certain
not.
things I definitely want to see in the show. I want somebody to tell Dina to get out the way, because that'll be hilarious, because everybody I'd ever watched play the game is like, get out the way, Dina. So there's that. And I want to see in the birthday gift, I am very upset. I'm very angry and upset, like from Joel. That's the 2 things I want to see for the rest of it.
Yeah. If anybody tells Dina
I'm
to get out of the
very
way,
angry and upset.
Yeah.
Now, come on.
I'm very angry and upset. Yeah. But people tell Dina to get out the way on every stream I watch of this game.
Oh, yeah, she's the worst.
I have seen people start to get like, if Dina behaves good in the game, like does what she's supposed to do, people have started going, oh, we've got HBO Dina.
I I want it to be I want it to behave. I wanted an adaptation to television. So while like a really dramatic scene is going on, just the character of Dina just like steps into frame and blocks half of it, so we can't see what's going on quite, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh,
Oh,
roll on next week.
yeah. Just the last two things, I think these are relatively quick, but things that were omitted today. And I don't think we'll see the rest of this season because I don't think this season's going to focus on Abby and her friends so much. I think we're going to see more of that next season. But two things that have not been set up. One is the fact that Abby and Owen dated. Like, they've not really mentioned their relationship status at all. They've certainly not mentioned him being with Mel now. And therefore, they've also not mentioned Mel being pregnant.
Oh yeah, I was gonna be like, we don't know Mel's pregnant. Then I literally totally forgot. It's just because Ellie doesn't know until the end when she gets her. Does she? That's the.
No.
But yeah, no. Obviously, we know Mel's pregnant. I feel like we don't need to know about the Owen. I think we don't need to know about the Owen backstory until it's important. I want to see more of Abby and Owen's relationship at this new point, and them being a bit irritable with each other before we figure out kind of why. I don't think they've had enough of a rapport to wonder what's going on with them just yet.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
I do think we're gonna get more because I think we really need to establish the wolves, and the way that we learn about the wolves in the game is through pickups. We read about them through different perspectives, but I think the foray into understanding them is going to be Abby, and I think we'll get them going back to Seattle, or they've been back for a little while, and they're basically at a little bit of Abby day one, maybe, or something, just to be like, okay, here's this guy named Isaac, here are the wolves, this is their deal. And I would even like to think, I mean, they'll probably do it through dialogue, I don't know, but like some kind of like the fall of Fedra and the rise of the WLF, just some sort of expository, or just like a 10-minute opener, or just something like that, to be like, here's this Isaac guy, here are the wolves, and this is what Ellie and her crew are about to step into, so we get context for that.
I mean, like,
But
send him to a set up quarantine zone that's still going with Fedra. That would be nice. I know obviously the timeline isn't great for that, but like if we could see a WLF take over a quarantine zone that was a Fedra one, or like a flashback mission or something like that, that would be a good way of doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm not a showrunner.
I am looking forward to seeing the Isaac stuff.
Yeah.
Like really looking forward to all that.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright's presence on these things is just, yeah.
Yeah.
Even like the little bits of just hearing his voice in the voiceovers, like in the trailer, and it's just been enough to be like, yes, give me more of this, please. I want to, like, playing the villain, just like, yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So Stacey, who has been messaging me while she's been watching it, while I've been doing this, says she is now too sad to sleep. So, bless her. So I said I'd chuck her a link because she wants to come down by listening to us talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've probably covered everything in the show, and a lot of stuff that wasn't in the show that could have been this week. And then there's also like that general sense. It's one of those things. It's a full hour, and it was like quite packed, and it was paced quite well. But it also felt really fast because when by the time you're over, it's just like, oh, it's done, and Joel's dead. No. But in case we've missed anything, or if there's anything else that springs to mind, any final thoughts from people? So, anything you just want to get out before we wrap up?
I like that they're toying more with the surrealism. Abby's dream at the very beginning, like I like that part 2 plays a little bit more with that. And I mentioned it on our predictions something that was in the Lost level that I would love to see them put into the show or trickle into the show to show like Ellie's mission and the fire behind her decision is like the ghost of Joel, or like she's crawling past it infected and she looks, it's an infected. She looks again, it's Joel's dead face, and she's like, fuck, she's just seeing him everywhere and she's blinded by this rage. And the first game in the first season doesn't really do that with the surrealism. It does a little bit with getting into Joel's head when he's deciding to take Ellie to the university, as he's like processing that decision. But I liked that opener with Abby talking to herself, and this is a nightmare that's recurring for her. So I'm interested to see what else they do with the surrealism.
I think that ties in perfectly to what will happen in the barn when Ellie has her PTSD flashback. So we'll get that sort of like dream flashback thing for Abby, and then later on that will be mirrored again with the Ellie stuff with the PTSD.
Yeah. I'm a big fan that Abby's ponytail length is like an age denominator as well. I love that in the game. I like that they did it this one. Little plait, she's young. Big plait,
Big plait, she's older.
Present day. Yeah.
Yeah. The first time I saw that plait, I was like, the plait, she's here.
When it was like done the perfect way, like it wasn't like a French braid, it had like the under thing that makes it like particularly, it looks like a game, like it's stuck on. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I was just like, they've done that hair very well because it looks exactly like it was a stuck on texture instead of like a French braid.
Yeah. But apart from that, no, I'm just looking forward to next week.
I was going to say, there was like that moment of like, after I said anything, I thought so like a brief moment of silence. Everyone just kind of looked a bit melancholic, like just sort of the general sense of, and I think that probably sums up like, yeah, even if there were parts we were critical of or happened differently than we might have expected, and it was interesting to discuss them. I think it's safe to say that the episode and what happened in it still had that same impact on a similar level. In fact, I put a poll on my YouTube channel before, like earlier on today, where I was asking people like, so the way I phrased it was Last of Us Season 2, Episode 2 versus The Last of Us Part 2, which version of that scene hit you harder? And at the moment, the votes stand at 43% for the game, 9% for the show, and 47% for both. I'm not okay. So, yeah, I think the impact of the game is still being felt, but I think also like just people who've experienced it twice now, or possibly more times, of just feeling that emotional damage and reeling. So,
yeah.
I'm sure next week I'll be like a laugh a minute by comparison.
I love it. I'm eating it up. Everyone's suffering.
Feel how I feel.
Well, on that note, I think it's worth thanking everyone again for chatting to us about it. It's always fun to chat about these things afterwards and just pour thoughts into the ether and see what happens. So it's been a lot of fun, and thank you to everyone who's watched. Hope you've appreciated it, and obviously if you've got opinions and theories of your own, do let us know in the comments, and we'll see you for the next one. Do we have an episode title for episode 3 yet or not?
I'm sure it's out. I don't know what it is though. I can IMDb it real quick.
I was trying to think of something silly, but I don't even have a silly joke to say. So
the melancholy is so deep that you can't even be silly.
Something's got a hold on me.
That's it.
It's episode 3. Something's got a hold on me.
Oh, it's going to be a clicker hanging off someone's foot. Ooh, get off.
Yeah.
Song titles every episode is an interesting.
Is that a song lyric? Something's got a hold on me.
Something's got a hold on me.
Has every episode been a song lyric?
Yeah, that's. I think it's Smokey Robinson and the Temptations, if I'm not wrong.
That feels a bit upbeat as a title for.
Yeah.
Mm,
We're flashback in next episode a bit, I think, though, and then
yeah.
and then there's something that's got a hold on them is revenge. So let's go.
Yeah.
Whew.
Well, that helps me conclude my thought. Then we will see you next week for discussion of Something's Got a Hold of Me, apparently. So thank you very much to everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, then give it a like and consider subscribing to keep up to date with all my content. Like the video that's just popped up, which YouTube thinks you should watch next. This is a Patreon and member supported channel, so if you want to become a member and unlock custom badges and emojis, early access to my videos, and your name in the credits, then click the join button below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.